Hi, and welcome to Beyond the Paycheck. I'm Paula Christine. As parents, we sometimes find it tough to save money for our kids' college while also trying to reach our own money goals. Today, we are chatting with Jasper Smith, also known as Mr. Build Wealth. He's here to help us figure out how to manage these things. Welcome, Jasper.
Hey, Paula. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. Okay, so before we get and talk about that managing between our goals and the goals for the kids, let's just first start talking about saving for college. What is the most important factors parents should consider when planning for their kids' education?
Does their kid need to go to college?
Oh, yeah, I agree with that 100%. Most of them don't.
I'm being totally honest here. I've got enough friends who have student loans who didn't really need school, and parents were kind of forcing it. And I think school is great, college is great, but it's not for everybody.
I agree.
And I think we've really got to start thinking about, does my kid want to go to college? Because I shouldn't be wasting money.
But when you're saving for college, lots of times they're babies.
True.
So that's another question. How do you plan for your kid to go to college? And then when they don't, what do you do with that money? I mean, I know I can think of a lot of things to do with that money. But
Right. Well, for one, and I think that really boils down to like which solutions you use, right? So there are accounts that are specifically for education, and then you just have regular investment and savings accounts. And so that's a conversation I actually have with a lot of my clients is it school? Is it for something else? If they say something else, I pick a certain solution. I think what it boils down to is having the conversation early enough and then making that decision knowing, yes, it's going to be college or it's not. Or if you're like, I'm in between, we'll still do a solution based on you're not sure. So I don't want to have to like handcuff you into a certain solution because it does matter what you decide to do. If you can have the conversation early enough, then picking the solution is easier.
So does the Secure 2.0 Act change that conversation a little bit now that you can take those funds and roll them into a Roth?
Absolutely. So I, for the longest time, was a huge fan of the 529 college plan, simply because it was all about college. The Secure 2.0 has changed that, but those, I think, rules don't go into effect until 2024. So there's still kind of this period of time where we're like, well, what do I do now? So for a parent who may be on the fence, just put it in a savings account for now until you can make that decision. So at least you're doing something as opposed to nothing. My wife and I had this conversation. My daughter's about 15 months right now. And so we don't want college to be the focus for her investment account. And so we opened up a UTMA or a Uniform Transfers to Minors account. And so we're only concerned about providing investments for her future. What that future entails, if it's college, great, money will be there. If it's for a trip, great, it'll be there. If it's for a new car, great. So we just wanted to make sure we were investing, but not necessarily having those funds tied to college.
Okay, but what about investing? And if your kid decides not to go to college, you get to keep the money instead of using it for a car or whatever, use it for your own goals.
You could. I actually have a mother who did that. Her son opted not to go to school. And she said, Mommy's going to go on a trip and buy a new car.
Wow.
Seriously. So she literally was like, this served as an investment account. She paid a little bit of taxes on taking the distribution that, wasn't for college. She got a new car and went on a trip.
I like that.
The mother said, I asked my son, she looked him right in the eye and said, Mommy's been investing for you since you were little. If you opt not to go, and he ended up joining the military. And so Mama got a new car and went on a vacation without him. Yes, that's what happened.
Well, I know it's a struggle to save for a child's education when you have no idea if they want to go to school, but yet you got to save for your retirement. You might be saving for a house. You might be saving for something. And there's a trade-off there. If I save for my kids and I can't be doing necessarily funding everything I need to do on my own. And if they don't go to college and you got this big pot of money to give to them, I don't know. I struggle with giving it to them.
I still say, Paula, you are way better to have the money and not need it than need the money and not have it.
I agree.
Agreed. Well, Paul, let me say this too. I mean, so to your point, it's all about prioritization. Now, that applies to everybody. So we all have competing priorities when it comes to financial planning, unless we just have an infinite amount of income or we know we're going to receive an inheritance. And so if we rule some of those factors out, well, we've got to decide if I'm only going to work for another 15 years, and let's say I have a newborn child, well, after 15 years, if I really want to retire, I need to focus on retirement because last time I checked, there aren't loans for retirement. You can't take out a loan when you retire. Your child will always be able to take out a loan for education. And so it's sometimes thinking about, well, if I have other priorities, then yes, my child's education might slide pretty far down on the list.
Yes.
That just goes back to everything being so unique to everybody's individual situation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Jasper, do you find that with the skyrocketing cost of higher ed and the lack of skilled tradespeople, that's tipping the scales away from college education for some of these decisions for people?
Absolutely. Yeah. There are more people now who are definitely thinking about the trade school route, the community college route, as opposed to just the standard, let's go to the 4-year institution. I mean, a lot of parents are starting to have that discussion. And yeah, it's beginning to change. I don't feel like colleges are doomed at this point, but I think the pandemic also got people to shift in terms of their thinking of what's really important.
Mm-hmm.
And so formalized education, I think, is important. Education at a university, that's a different conversation. So I think about my career as a financial planner. Did I need college? Probably not. I could have worked for a financial firm, got licensed, and learned how to sell at 18, 19, which people have done, and they never went to college. And so if you do have that kind of mindset of, I know what I want to be, and if college doesn't fit into that equation, why go?
There's also a lot of degrees that the cost of the education and the salary that you're going to earn, there's no way that you're ever going to pay that loan off.
Speak on it. I love my social working friends and clients.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
I love them all, but they have a lot of, they do a lot of heart work.
Yes.
And they are not compensated accordingly. And even one of my really good friends, she got her master's and then had to log her hours. And I was like, you're still not making a lot of money. So it is something that I think maybe as a family unit, as friends, like we got to have this talk to really make sure that if I'm going to pursue a certain career, then hopefully I have the financial foundation to be able to allow me to still live a quality of life. So I always joke with my friends of, well, if my daughter grows up and wants to be an actress, and let's say she wants to move to LA, go to New York, whatever, it'd be nice for her to have money to pay her rent, pay for food, and pay for like maybe her car. So like taking care of the necessities. So my daughter can then not be the quote unquote starving artist. She will have some money to be able to provide and live, but then her job will be literally just to go to auditions. And so if you go into social work, well, yes, you're not going to get paid a handsome sum until years on into your career. I also look at teachers. I mean, teachers across this country are underpaid everywhere.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So the same could be said is, well, what if we had a better foundation starting out as a child, irregardless if we went to school or not, but parents just saved and invested for their children. So when they became an adult, I just think about how many more options they'll have. So you don't have to go to school. You don't have to. You don't have to do this. You don't have to do that. You can then be mindful of, well, here's what I'm really passionate about. And I know I'm not going to get paid a lot, but I'll be happy. And oh, by the way, because my parents saved and invested for me, I have a nice little cushion.
I struggle with that philosophy because I think of how many people, because they had to be the starving artist, that value money potentially more and worked harder for it. Do you see where I'm coming from? I understand what you're saying, but I also see that there's that part that you need to grow and to figure things out and maybe not necessarily have it handed to you right in the beginning.
I totally agree. I agree with both schools of thought. So I grew up in a house where I didn't struggle, but I was told about the struggle, reminded about the struggle, and also reminded that this wasn't mine. And my parents, I think, did a great job of, I'll say in this example, they actually kept me hungry. Literally, like not that they didn't have the money to do things, but I had to go to work very early because my parents are like, you're not just going to lay around and be a freeloader during the summer as a teenager. And so I think there's this balance of, I think, your child. And so for me, they knew they needed to force me to go to work early so I would be responsible and understanding that, yes, you have some privileges, but we can take those away. And so I think every household is going to be different. I just got lucky that I was the third kid. So I think my parents had worked out the kinks with my two older siblings. So by the time I was born, they had it worked out. So here's what we're going to do with baby number 3. So, and then so you understand, like, okay, it is possible to talk to your children to keep them, let's say, hungry and passionate about pursuing something, but also understanding that we can still kind of give them a nice little handout when needed, not when they want it. And I think there's a big difference between like parents who just give their kids everything and they don't understand hard work. But I didn't grow up in a house that way. Like I knew we had stuff, but I still had to go to work, had to make good grades. I had to do my chores. So I think it really comes back to like what's going on in that household in terms of how those kids may come out in the future.
I agree. As I go through this, I kind of think of the people that I know and I've raised 5 kids and just thinking about their education, a couple of them never made it to college and they're doing fine and they have no debt. And then my youngest, he kind of struggles. He's finally figured out where he wants to be in life. And I help them when needed, when needed. It's hard to know what to do. It's hard to know the right answer is.
And there's no wrong answer here. I think that's the cool thing about parents and families. Like there's no right answer. It's like, what's right for your situation today,
right? Which
we know could change tomorrow. And so we got to be fluid with, okay, we're going to make some plans, but those plans could change. Like, none of this is in stone. So I think if we could just have the conversation more often about our children's future, I think that would help us avoid a lot of stuff later. But I think it's from this lack of not having the discussion enough is the reason that people have these issues later in life. Well, I wish my parents would have done this, this, and this. Okay, well, were they aware that they could have done that for you? I was going to mention something too, Paula, around this whole saving and investing around for kids is I hear a lot of parents tell me, well, we really can't afford it. And it's to your point about those other priorities. And so I always say this, and I mean this wholeheartedly, people don't ask of their village. So they say it takes a village to raise a child, but we're not telling the village what we need. And the key word there is need.
Go into that a little deeper.
Yep. So my daughter's almost 15 months old. My wife and I have paid $0 for clothing. That's shoes, that's shirts, that's onesies. And all we do is I have friends who have daughters who are slightly older than her. And I just make my rounds to pick up clothes because they were all going to give them away. And so I looked at also, okay, my daughter's going to have a birthday every year. It's going to be Christmas. And so I have been, you can call it training. I'm training my family and friends to not give us stuff. There was this one stuffed animal. We got 5 of them. 5, all at different times. So every time I got one, I was like, I've already seen that toy and we never took it out the box. So I just gave it away.
Oh, I know. The kids are they get so much.
So think about all the money that's spent on children. Because I have a little girl. So, Jasper, I thought your daughter will look cute. No. My wife's going to decide what's cute for her to wear. So how about you ask me what is it that we need, and then you can go buy stuff. But again, how many of us are actually coaching and reminding and educating our village? And again, these are your family, your friends, your friends who don't have kids, who love your kid or kids. I mean, there are so many dollars that could help to fund our child's future, but we just don't ask. And I'm really like a living proof of that because my daughter's first birthday, I had multiple people say, hey, Jasper, I know y'all don't want stuff. So where do I send you the money? I said, great. Y'all are listening. Because we don't need more toys.
Yeah. I mean, my granddaughter just had her first birthday. And oh my God, I said to my son, I'm like, you almost need to get a second house.
Yep.
Just store all of this. I said, this is such a waste of money because number one, she can't play with it all. She'll wear a lot of those clothes once or twice. And, it's just such a waste. Would have been so much better just to give cash and invest it.
And here's a good one. And this is going to take some time for people to do. When people want to give gifts, you have to remind them to give you gift receipts. And you just got to remind them. And so again, we've gotten gifts. And I would ask, hey, by chance, is there a gift receipt? And some people were like, no, we just know she needs this. And I was like, you don't know what my kid needs because you didn't ask me, first off. Straight up, you don't know. Second, I did have some friends who got some gifts and they said, Jasper, I've been listening to what you've been talking about. We got the gift receipt. So if it's something you don't need or want, you can take it back. And one of these was a big 6-foot tall bag of stuff, all from Target, that we didn't need any of it. So you know what I did, y'all? I went to Target got that money back, and then I went shopping for the house.
Grocery shopping, yeah.
That's a great idea, but a lot of people don't listen, because I tried that with
Absolutely.
my kids, especially with the grandparents. And I'd say, listen, we're buying for Christmas. You're buying for Christmas. My mom's buying for Christmas.
Yeah.
Aunts and uncles are buying for Christmas. They get so much stuff and we don't need it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But you know what? They didn't listen.
Some family members won't comply.
Yep.
Some family members, they're going to do what they want to do. And that's okay.
Correct.
But that doesn't stop me from asking. And I know it works because my mother-in-law, like, we had that talk about her buying stuff for her granddaughter. And I was like, Mama, look, we do need some things which will always let you know, but we also need money for, her investment accounts or savings accounts. And so what happened is she does both now. And I love her for that. And I think if there is that segment of people who just don't want to listen to you, just ask would they consider doing both. I'll take both. We're still going to get rid of the toy if we don't want it, but now we also got money from them. So we still get what we want for the child. And I think just for those who are just not willing, you got to just keep asking, hey, would you mind? Hey, would you consider? We'd really appreciate, or the kid, once the kid can start talking, like, use the child. Hey, look, I need money for college. And I'm going to do that with my daughter.
I do that for my grandchildren. I don't buy them gifts.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I might buy them a little bit, something small,
Mm-hmm.
but then I contribute to a 529 plan for them.
Lovely.
So that's what I've been doing for years for my grandchildren. Well, it was great talking with you, Jasper. I love the way that you think. And I wish I could have gotten my parents and grandparents to think that way when it came to my children. And I'm going to share this a lot with my children about how to ask for money instead of gifts from their family members.
Yeah, it's a lifelong journey. It's a lifelong journey, but I believe people have the ability to make it happen.
I do too. It was very nice talking to you. If anybody would like to get a hold of you, how would they reach you?
Yeah, they can find me at thebuildwealthmovement.com. Again, that's thebuildwealthmovement.com is where you can find me. I have a lot of great resources on my website. And if you want to reach out to have a discussion, see how I can be of service, there's a contact us section at the very bottom of the page. But yeah, again, that's thebuildwealthmovement.com. And if I can be of service, let me know.
And Jasper will be back in a few weeks. He will be talking to us about budgeting. So I look forward to that. So if anybody would like to reach out to me, you can contact me at paulachristine.com or check out the website at paulachristine.com. Thanks again, Jasper.
Thanks, Paula.